Hello and welcome to today's book hunting video, and it was an incredible day, the Friday the 26th of September. I managed to get to 3 bookshops. This one, however, the first port of call, sadly was not open because they were away at a book show in Amsterdam, so fair enough. I had a quick look in the window. They are a big bookshop, and it's a bit of a shame that they weren't there, but it was an ad hoc visit. I hadn't planned to visit Honiton. I was going to go to a different bookshop in Dorchester, but thankfully High Street Books up the road, they were indeed open. So I have visited High Street Books quite a few times now, and in fact I must have filmed it 3 or 4 times, but I haven't been back for over a year. So I thought, well, I'm on my way to Puddletown, which is the bookshop we'll see next, and then off to meet up with book dealer Dorset Bob, and we were going to plan to go to yet another bookshop in the afternoon. So I thought, well, let's go on in, and I've made good time. And it was once again, we were very, very lucky with the weather. It was lovely on the drive up from Plymouth, which is where I am. And I was asked before I go ahead and start filming. She said, yeah, go ahead. There was I don't think it was the main sort of bookseller in question. Someone, maybe his wife or partner, was looking after the shop for him. And I managed to have a really, really thorough look around. And this is on the ground floor, just as you go in, quite near the till. Some fine binding stuff. A few king penguins there as well. And we sort of, it's a little edge of the children's books. They sort of spill over. It's quite nicely organised, this shop. Advertising the Chelsea Book Fair there. And I like a good book hunt. And I've got a couple of really good ones coming up before the end of the year in parts of Britain that I've never been to before. So do look out for some more book hunt videos if you like these tours of secondhand bookshops in the future. I'm also hopefully going to be going to the London Book Fair in Bloomsbury in November, which is at the Royal National this time. It's not at the Bloomsbury Holiday Inn. It's moved location while the Holiday Inn is being refit. And obviously this is some of the military history on offer. I am contemplating getting not like a Steadicam, but like a little gimbal. That's quite nice, that one. A little gimbal which I can pop my phone on, so it should make it less shaky. So I am trying to work on that, but ultimately the only way to sort of go around it is to film quite slowly and to keep hitting the focus button. But they've got like an island. This is in front of the till with sort of their more vintage stroke literary paperbacks, and that's what we're looking at here. They're genre paperbacks: crime, science fiction, horror. They are to come upstairs, and we'll see those in a minute. But here they've got a fair bit of penguin stuff and a little bit of cult or vintage, just general vintage paperbacks. It's interesting how more and more shops are seemingly putting their penguins, their distinctive colour-coded penguins, to one side now, and they're marketing them separately to their regular run-of-the-mill paperbacks, which isn't a bad thing. That was a slightly lower grade, but still an original Robert Van Gulliken hardback, which is I think a Michael Joseph one. Here's some of their other sort of more vintage stroke collectible paperbacks, some of the Bond books and that. I did go through them. There was nothing special that I think I needed, so I didn't buy any of those. A few other bits and pieces is right on the floor now, so Apologies for the slightly shaky camera work. You see some gold medals and all the traditional sort of British publishers and odd digit there. Some Pan, but there's a lot more Pan upstairs. Fontana's, some Foursquare. Sadly, nothing that I wanted, even a few Westerns there. Not a lot of Western in the shop, but there was a bit in hardback. Now this is sort of just behind the till area, and they had some very expensive books in there. There was a copy of Hercule Poirot's Christmas, which I just zoom in on there. That was the first, but without a wrapper. And they had, I think that was 300 on that one, with that inscription inside. Some other early firsts, Cold Comfort Farm in a dust wrapper. Some more fine bindings. And a rather expensive Folio Society book. Once again, I was pleased to see they had 2 bays of Folio Society books. There's a set of Churchill's Second World War in hardback, wrappered and unwrappered. Some nice books here. Natural history and what have you. Yeah, sort of series and part series as well. Yeah, lots and lots of stuff. I mean, basically the bookshop it looks to me like a converted house, and every little room, nook and cranny has been filled with bookcases, and then every bookcase has got stock on. Now, very well organised, as you can see, and unlike some bookshops which we might go into, there isn't loads of books like on top of racking or on the floor. Most of it is out the way on shelves, which is the way you want it, really. I'll section there on Darwin. A few other more modern firsts. A 2-volume Lord Randolph Churchill. I think that originally was 4 when it first got published. I'm not so interested in Churchill's sort of non-war related ones. I prefer his war histories. This is a run of the Everymans. They got huge stock of them. Many from the period that I like, which is around the 1910 to 1930 sort of bindings. The later ones there came in the dust wrappers. I have, in all honesty, I have stopped picking them up because although I love them, actually physically reading them, the text is too small. So I've moved on to, I'll probably get rid of my Everymans and just stick to the Folio Society. It's just a better reading experience for me now. And I've been enjoying collecting those. And there's more scope. There's not that much scope in the Everyman's library. They kept the list to about 1,000 in print. And I've got a lot of my favourites, people like Dickens and that, but there's a lot of stuff I wouldn't really be that interested in. That was interesting. That was the original paperback of A Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth, which I remember selling new as a bookseller. And he was a very short Indian chap, Vikram Seth. And I remember a photo in the bookseller, and it was him next to a pile of copies of A Suitable Boy, and he was the equivalent of like 27 copies of the book. Into the children's now, some early Beatrix Potter, Thomas the Tank Engine. Yeah, I don't think it's a specialty, children's, but they've got some stuff there. Huge area, of course, and every bookshop's got a bit, but, you know, it's one of those areas you do need to sort of specialise in a little bit. James Bond annual there, that's the 67. But nothing really sort of jumped out at me in the kids department this time round. I see you did have the Fungus the Bogeyman pop-up, which I probably would have had a look at. That's one I haven't got. Yes, antiques, art book, architecture. Some good stuff here. I completely missed that one. Look, Pevner's An Outline of European Architecture. Penguin Books. That's, I believe, Q27. It's one of the miscellaneous ones that I'm actually missing. So later today, I'm going to be phoning him up and seeing if it's the correct printing, because it needs to be the 6th print, which was the Jubilee edition. And if it is, I'm going to see how much he wants for it, because that is one of the 5 miscellaneous books I need now to finish that little run. So hopefully it's not too expensive, it's the correct edition, and he's willing to mail order it. Potentially in November with a bit of luck, in which case I might be able to nip in and get it there, I suppose, to save on the postage. Nice book on Fabergé there. A couple of nice books on Toulouse-Lautrec, which I was very tempted with. And once again, I may end up with those down the line. We'll see. But yeah, pretty good art section there. And I think there was a bit more upstairs as well. I think this is the top of the stairs now, so I've gone up round the corner. It's a bit, I mean, there is literally stuff everywhere you turn. So, you know, it's a little bit chocker. As you can see, it's just like a house. You know, it'd just be as if you were in somebody's house. And every space was filled with a bookcase, which is, let's be honest, how we all want all our houses to be. A bookcase on every wall. So yeah, a bit of craft. Cookery. Not really something I collect at all. And then wines and winemaking. Then some more, as a Zane Grey got its own section. A little bit more children's. That's all Shire booklets there, but there's some good stuff in there. The Shire are actually pretty good, their books. I remember selling them. They did a book for every subject, to be honest. Philosophy. So occasionally while I'm up here, because we're in a house, there's big windows, so sometimes the sun bleeds in and flares up the lens, but I've tried to be as careful as I could and refilmed some of it when I was in there. And some Giles books there. Not many cartoon books, but a bit. That's the Encyclopedia of Fantasy. It goes along with the Encyclopedia of Science Fiction. Both excellent tomes. A little bit out of date now, but still very good. and worth picking up if you haven't got them. Myths and UFOs. Okay, we see a few more genre stroke vintage paperbacks coming up. This is some of the slightly more modern stuff, fiction, non-fiction, some B format. It's a great book there. I've got that one myself, Tomb of Tutankhamun, by Howard Carter. Yep, some just good solid non-fiction there. A fair old selection. That one on Raffles caught my eye. That's the original Raffles. A few B format military history. And move into a bit more of the pulpy paperback science fiction. I mean, I have found stuff here in the past, so I do always check it out. And generally the prices aren't ridiculous. And I think it's quite telling that there's so little of this sort of stuff around, particularly horror. Science fiction you can usually find a bit in most second-hand shops, but horror, you know, and 70s horror, it's just not out there. It's just not, or if it is out there, it's being snapped up very quickly. It's the hot genre, I would say. But I did pick up plenty from this shop on this trip. I was really pleased to get what I got. And as I do with all my book hunting videos, at the end of this video, there's like 5-10 minutes or so of me going through my purchases from the bookshops that I went to. Yeah, so quite a run of vintage pan, and that. It's just the condition's not really there in a lot of cases. And we got some pelicans along the bottom. A few more lower grade king penguins upstairs. Had some downstairs as well. Wisdons. Roman interest. I shelf that. Good books there by the looks of it. This is sort of a freestanding, absolutely enormous books on there, plus some very early sort of fine binding stuff, leather bound. Which has its fans, you know. Not something I've ever got into, leather bound books. I don't think I've got any like that anyway, not antiquarian. This is sort of more historical history books, different bits of history, that's social history there. Lots and lots of stock. I mean, whilst I was there was at least 2 other customers came in and out, and everybody bought something from what I could see. Including me. I think it's because the stock is so wide-ranging. It really is that, there's so much choice. It's simple as that. Here's some of the Penguin History of Art series. This is one series I don't collect. They're published as Pelicans, but they're fantastic. I think if I could find them in much better condition than they generally are, they're late 60s. There's always a few in every bookshop. That run's been there since I've been going to Honiton. And I think he's got £20 to £30 per book. They just don't appeal. I even picked a couple up and had a look through, and they just seem so dry. Strand magazine, a couple of bound up volumes. You sometimes see them like that. I don't think those had any Sherlock Holmes in, any Conan Doyle, sadly. All good stuff there. These are multi-part volume sets. This is another part of the shop now, which has got, I wouldn't say like bric-a-brac, but it's got things like postcards and, ancient greeting cards, vintage bits of paper and memorabilia. A few magazines and things like that. So we'll have a look at that now. A sports section. Natural history. Photography section there, quite nice. Russia. Yes, plenty to see. That is absolutely certain. I'm sure if I'd have had a bit longer there, I would have found even more that I wanted to pick up. But I was pleased with what I did end up with. Books on glass. Country house and palaces. More art books. A Picasso set's very nice. It's an early Taschen. Here's the table in the middle with some of the vintage magazines and other bits and pieces. Every time I come up, the magazines have generally changed. There's not like the same ones every time. So I guess they must be moving. They're not expensive, I don't think. All copies of Picture Post. Very, very much at their time, aren't they? Anniversary Radio Times issue. Then we got some special newspapers. These look a couple of quid each. Man on the Moon, things like that. First Man Up Everest, that sort of thing. Now this is inside another like little annexy room upstairs. I believe this one had some more modern first editions inside. And a bit more genre fiction as well. Yeah, it's like an overflow of the slightly more modern first editions, but stuff that's less expensive, shall we say, just sort of a bit more run-of-the-mill and less important. But still needs a place somewhere in the shop. Yeah, a few interesting books there, but nothing for me in that bit of the store. McCaffrey Omnibus, quite nice. Uniform Trollop set. Voss there by Patrick White, but without a wrapper. And a whole shelf of Edgar Wallace, but he was mega prolific, wasn't he? A few Woodhouses there without wrappers. And that's like the Charles Dickens bookcase on the whole. A little bit more of the sort of ephemeral stuff. There's one more big room to go through and one small one. These are like from the 1950s, apparently, those cards. A little bit more of the ephemeral stuff. They had 2 bookcases full of Folio Society, which is what we're looking at there. I didn't in the end buy any of these, but it was nice to see a few that I'd not actually physically looked at in the flesh. I was looking for ones that I was possibly missing and early ones, but they didn't have any early ones. It was mainly late 60s and 70s up, rather than the early sort of dust wrappered copies that I like from the first 10 years. They were very thin on the ground. They had one Dickens, and typically is one I've already got, which is like really annoying. But that's the way it goes. It's a bit more of a closer look there. I think the period from about 1962-63 up to 2000, all of those Folio Society books, they're not the greatest ones that they ever did, but it's just prior, up to about 2000, it's just prior to them becoming what they are familiar with today. And they're very, very cheap. So unless you've got room for 2,700 books, I would say err on the side of caution if you collect them, and just pick up the best, which is sort of what I'm doing in that era. And the Folio goes into the poetry, and then a few more magazines and periodicals. I always have a little look through the book and magazine collector, but there was sadly nothing in there that I was after this time. They only charge £1 each. A little Churchill section, which once again I have bought books from in the past because he's very reasonable, but there was nothing there that I was after this time round. Plus I've packed all my Churchill away now, it's all in storage for the time being. Bit of true crime leading into TV, film and theatre. Lots of travel. As you can see, the shop is just enormous. Some maps there in the middle. But we're almost there. We've almost done the whole thing. This is in the little annexy bit that I was mentioning earlier. Yeah, some maritime books. T. Lawrence. So that was Honiton, and now we're off to Puddletown and the Antique Map and Bookshop in Puddletown in Dorset. And it was, as I said, a fantastic day. I just drove up from Honiton. It takes about an hour from Honiton, the bookshop we just looked at, and this is outside. And these are just books that are like a 50p or £1. Some good stuff there. Yeah, good stuff. And now just inside the door is their sort of more bargain bin paperbacks. These are all 50p or £1. And like last time I was up, I was able to get quite a few from here. Yeah, fantastic stuff. All sorts of genres, but predominantly sort of vintage and classics. And then they actually had like a penguin specific little area here just inside the door as well, which was really nice to see. I like the way they got them all spread out like that. I think maybe they'd had a collection in or something like that since last time I'd visited. And we will have a quick look through those now. And I did pull out a few. I mean, I've got them all. There was nothing there that I didn't already have. across all those series. But there was a particularly nice copy of Farewell My Lovely, which we'll probably see in just a moment, I reckon, by Raymond Chandler, which is it was a beautiful copy. So I picked it up, as it's Our Trouble Is My Business, rather. There we are, by Raymond Chandler. Yeah, which there's a chance that may actually be better than my own copy, so I've grabbed that one as a possible upgrade. There's some Penguin specials there, which I love, just love the specials. And then into the shop proper. So 3 bays of beautiful Folio Society. The owner was able to offer me a coffee, which was fantastic. Thank you very much. That was much appreciated after my time on the road. I got there about sort of 1-ish in the end. And they had a big pile, you can't see it there, but they had a big pile of mail order waiting to go out. And once again, whilst I was there, 2 or 3 people turned up to shop books. So busy, I would say, busy. And when you look through, you'll see why. What a beautifully presented shop. I mean, really, it's a real joy to go into a second-hand bookshop like this. It's a real quality sort of experience. And once again, this looks like a converted house, but a bit less pokey than, say, Honiton. Yeah, it was a joy to shop. Yes, lots of interesting Folio Society books there. Once again, not really my period. There's I don't mind some of the later stuff, and there's some great books there. The Sea, that's one I recommend, by Iris Murdoch. In fact, I think that won the Booker, but I like the early ones. They did have a copy of The Great Escape, which is what I am after, to go alongside my copy of Coldit's story. But I think he had like 60 quid in that one, which was, it is what it is. It's a little more than I wanted to pay for that one. They even had some of the highly sought after fairy books. And a few, as you can see, were brand new and sealed, never been opened. And then onto his more normal stock, shall we say now. That's the folios out of the way. A lot of this is local interest for the Dorset area. And the owner, Tristan, was saying that they have customers right around the world. They mail order right around the world. I believe they are on the main sort of book selling websites, places like ABE Books, for example. I don't know if or believe that they're on eBay. I've not come across them before, but they are on the more traditional book selling sites. And it's funny going back through the video, there's other books like that one there, The Mystery of Easter, and I would have liked to at least pick that one up and had a look, but I just moved on. There's some of the A&C Black. Is it the 20 shilling series? They're really, really nice. I've got a couple of those. But I didn't succumb today. I was good. I didn't succumb. Got Nero there. Here we are, some vintage travel into poetry. There's lots of fine bindings. There's private press stuff. Lots of real antiquarian books here. And it's lovely to see, particularly when you start to recognise some of the more vintage publishers. I'm not all about the paperbacks sometimes. I do like to get the odd hardback or two. And I'm sure like me you appreciate just beautiful, beautiful books. And they've got those there. That's Moonraking. I picked that one out obviously because of the James Bond reference to, well, not in that book, but potentially Fleming pinched the name from somewhere. Fishing and gardening. Not masses of that stuff here, but there is a bit. And original Surtees there, you don't come across those very often. I'd say lots of decent military history. First World War in particular. But we're still downstairs at the moment, some more fine bindings. And private press, and there's some very, very lovely and expensive Golden Cockerel books, so including The Glory of Life, which is the one I would dearly, dearly love, but yeah, a little pricey. That set there attracted me, Churchill's War Speeches. That's all 7 of the Glance original hardbacks bound into 3 incredibly beautiful leather bound editions. Not, as you might expect, cheap, but beautifully done. And there is a market for this sort of book. I mean, there really is. And when you get a library of them together, they do look quite magnificent. It's not what I enjoy, and I just don't really get a lot out of leather-bound books. I did once come across a professionally leather-bound copy of Ariel, the very first Penguin, and I didn't see it in the flesh, but it looked like it had been well done. That's like £80–90 for that one, so I gave it a miss. A few behind glass cabinets and what have you. A few more sort of fine binding series. Plenty of room to sit down, have a look at your purchases or potential purchases. And relax. Whilst I was there, Tristan was keeping an eye on an online auction which was happening, which was all very exciting. Some really nice antiquarian children's here now, A. Milne and C.S. Lewis, Lewis Carroll, all sorts. Some good stuff here. Here we got the Frank Richards, nice run of those Billy Bunter books, which we'll see in just a sec. And I noticed that they had a lot of books illustrated by Arthur Rackham. Great illustrator. And some more first editions. And a few very nice books on witchcraft, which I can only imagine are not cheap, but probably very nice indeed, if that's your thing. Really collectible subject, that. And yet another Dickens set. And there they are. Those are some of the Captain Beresford sort of children's books. I mean, yeah, children's, but adults collect them a bit like the Henties. Mainly for their incredible jackets rather than the actual content, which is a bit silly. But they have their fans. Lots of Jane Austen there, some beautiful sets. And here's some of their first editions. Tip-top quality there. Very, very nice. Some good stuff there. Love those Henry Williamsons. I will get round to getting the set one day. A couple more Beresfords there. Yes. Plenty to look at and plenty to tempt, and there really was. There was a lot there. I mean, without any effort at all, I could have easily spent £1,000. Sadly, I didn't have £1,000 to spend that particular day, but you know, it is what it is. We have gone upstairs now, so it's once again, the books and cabinets are on 2 floors. There's some more of the Henty stock and Beresfords. Other enormous tomes. I mean, just incredible. Huge books. And a bit more local interest. Incredible, all those books on Dorset. And some of these just look incredible. Decorations in England. Wow. Antiques, clocks. These are behind glass cabinets, some of these. They're a little bit tricky to film. But I want to do the comprehensive tour. And the shop is open most days, but if you're ever in doubt, just give them a call. It's probably the easiest way, just to be on the safe side. And you turn up, ring the bell, and they'll come down and let you in. Now, they had some more paperbacks, some genre paperbacks, horror, some vintage stuff, some science fiction. And I had a good look through there. There was a couple I left behind, which I was a bit frustrated about because I don't know what happened. They fell out of my pile. But I did buy a few from here, and it's always worth going through these sorts of shelves. They were double stacked, a bit like my ones at home here. Or even triple stacked in some awful cases, but not much. Yeah, so these are the next tier up of paperback. These aren't the 50p ones that were by the front door. But plenty, they're very, very reasonably priced. Prices from like £1.50 or so, which is very good. And on the whole, some very nice vintage books there. Then they've also got some sort of display cabinets, and a lot of these have got sort of bits of military history in, cards, some photography stuff, regimental histories, all sorts of stuff really. You see these wartime ration books and bits of ephemera, and it is really fascinating to look at. It really is. So yeah, worth a look. That. And these are some more like regimental histories and what have you. The Buildings of England along the top shelf there, virtually a full run, but from what I could see. Box of maps, and then they've got some miscellaneous sort of, I think perhaps new acquisitions there. Some new naturalists that have just come in. They got a shelf of Tolkien and related, which is quite nice. I think this may be where the new editions come in. Some Evelyn Walls there, also very, very nice. Run of those. Lovely. And then some more stuff behind in cabinets here. And predominantly military history again on those first two. Very nice. Then an incredible run of new naturalists, right back to number 1 from what I could see. Beautiful series, that. Very, very nice. I'd love to collect them if I had the room. And Churchill's history of the First World War, and they did have number 6 just hiding around the corner there, which is the rare one. And then the last bit is just down by the in the office again. Some of their beautiful first editions, the James Bonds, the Flemings. Some amazing stuff there. If you are in the area, you have to go to Puddletown Bookshop because it's a real hidden gem. And I shall won't be leaving it over a year between visits, I can assure you of that. Don't forget, if you've seen anything here that you fancy, just give them a call. They do stacks of mail order virtually daily. Then the last shop we've got to look at is the West Moors Bookshop, which is just your typical high street, second-hand, bring it in, trade it in bookshop. I did not buy anything here. I was, in all honesty, booked out. But I went along with my friend Dorset Bob, and he did pick up a few little bits and pieces that he's intending to resell. So it's one of his little shops, and you can trade stuff in, and I think they give you half back in trade or something like that. It's a pretty good setup, and I did check a few bits and pieces, but there was nothing really for me here, so I did leave empty-handed, but worth the visit all the same. Just look at all that Dean Koontz. How much Dean Koontz does one person need? I don't know. But nice, they got plenty of science fiction, a little bit of horror. They had some graphic novels, so I don't think I caught those. Even a few TV tie-ins. But as you can see, the shop is packed. There's stacks on the floor, which you need to sort of have eyes in many places so you're not tripping over stuff, particularly when I'm trying to film. So it doesn't lend itself to filming very well, so I don't film much in here. But you get a feel for it, and if you ever pass in, I mean, definitely pop in, because their stock changes very, very quickly. So it's definitely worth a visit. I said, really nice people, and you could easily find something that you're missing. But I'd say it's the bookshop for a reader rather than a collector. and it is predominantly fiction rather than non-fiction. But yeah, lots and lots to see. Yeah, good stuff. What a day of book hunting it was. And I'll go through my finds in a moment, so you can see what I picked up on the day. I think I showed considerable restraint personally, but my wife probably doesn't think so. Yeah, like a lot of shops, they're putting some of it together. They're trying to theme it as best they can. I think just sticking it to genre is hard enough. But they don't do a bad job. And although I didn't get anything, my friend Bob came out with a bag load. So he was happy. And then we went to the pub. To the Sixpenny Tap, which is a great real ale pub in Dorset. If you're ever in the area, I do recommend it. And Scott, the landlord, used to be a BBC special effects wizard, so he's worked on many TV shows, Doctor Who, and some movies as well. And he's got some props dotted around the brewery, which is fantastic. So, well worth a visit to the Sixpenny Tap. And that gives you a real good idea of what you've got to go through when you visit the Westmore's bookshop. Incredible. Yes, books everywhere. That's it. Then the last little bit that I hadn't filmed, the Terry Pratchett's there. It's got some a little bit more fantasy. I think I've just about covered it all. Well, as is traditional, after a book haul, I do like to show you what I actually managed to pick up. And a whole day of book hunting saw me pick up, well, quite the pile. So this was the first thing I bought, which was Fabergé in the Royal Collections. This is basically a book of all the Fabergé designed items that are in the English royal family. And what a collection it is. Absolutely amazing. This one was £15, this particular book, which is about half what it was when it was published, and absolutely fantastic. I'm going to really enjoy going through this. It's about as close as I'm ever going to get to something owned by Fabergé. So yeah, a really nice book, that one. So that was very nice indeed. So yeah, beautiful book in the dust wrapper as well. I picked up one that was at Honiton. This one was, I'm doing these in size order. This one was from Puddletown Books. He had, as you saw in the video, quite a bit of Folio Society stuff. I wasn't particularly looking for that this time round, but this is one that's been on my wants list. This is Mass Observation, Penguin did a Penguin special on mass observation, which is really enjoyable. I've read that one right through, and this is the similar sort of thing where people, at the outbreak of war, people just started recording their very average day-to-day lives. If they worked in a factory, if they were making munitions, if they worked on the farm, just their day-to-day life. And after the war, those like reminiscences or essays, as it were all brought together into an archive, and it was the Mass Observation Archive. And this is a brand new selection from that archive, and that's what this is. And it's all from, you know, just the average person living in Britain during the Second World War, and really, really good, absolutely fascinating. So I recommend this. So this is one that the Folio Society put out. I think it was early-ish 2000s, like 2007. Yeah, 2007. It was reprinted several times. This is the first print, and it doesn't go for a lot. I mean, you know, they had £10 on it, I believe, in Puddletown. I think it was £10. Can't find the price now. I think it was a tenner in Puddletown, and you know, you can get them for around that online. But since it was there and it was one that I've been after, I most definitely grabbed it. I got one book, as I said, since we're doing this size order, I got one book from Dorset Bob. I was only there just 3 weeks ago, so you know, I'd already been through his stock quite thoroughly. But this is one that I forgot to pick up. So I've got the 3 Conan volumes that were published uniform to this edition by Del Rey, and this is one I fancy, which is the horror stories of Robert E. Howard. There are several others in the series, in actual fact, and there's at least another 6, but this is one I really quite fancied, and Bob let me have that one for a very good price because he's a good egg. Yeah, they're lovely, these cracking stuff. So that's going to be good to read. And then some of the paperbacks that we managed to get. So we got quite a few to get through. Some came from Honiton, some came from Puddletown. So we got this was from Honiton, and this is part of the New English Library Masters of SF series. And I got a few of these. This one has been remaindered, but it was still all right. I didn't think it was too bad. When they have £3 something. I mean, that's not bad. I think it was Honiton. I picked this one up from Puddletown. This is a Canadian white circle, and I think it had like 50p on it or something like that. It was in the 50p box. This one was a little bit more expensive, but the chap at Puddletown, Tristan, did give me some discount. He gave me about 22%, something like that, which was really good. So that one, well, he had 3 on that, which is very, very good. Look at the condition of that. That's really nice for that Raymond Chandler. It made me better than my own one. As you saw when we went in, there was lots of books at 50p and £1. That was one of those, which is a later early 80s printing of Halloween Party. These are the covers that came after Tom Adams. A Panther I'd not seen before, The Crest of the Wave. Panther at $7.52. That was cheap as well. This was a little bit more expensive, but I went for it anyway. It's an Avon Harlan Ellison, Partners in Wonders, one I haven't got. It's an anthology by him. That had 6 on, so less discount, made it about 4, which I thought was very good. This one was also about £3 for that one. And a J.M. Marsh, quite an early Fontana. I'm pretty sure, it was the first 1960. It's all right, isn't it, you know? This is in Honiton. Couldn't quite believe it since I've just sort of started picking up Golden Cockerel press books. And this was one which was a tenner. All Golden Cockerel press. It's a private press. And they're all limited editions, usually numbered. This one's no exception. This is number 498 of 750. This particular one, this was a tenner. I thought that was really good. It's one of they're smaller. Usually they're a bit bigger than that. I have got a couple to show you that I picked up in Puddletown, a bit more special than those. That was, where did I get that? I think that might have been, I think that was in Honiton. Quite a nice little one. Cherry Tree War Special. Yeah, that's quite unusual. That was in Honiton, that one. That was 4. This was in Puddletown. I've got this one. It's a Corgi First to San de Mars. Mine's fallen to bits. I've had it for absolute years. He had £3 on this. And that's the first Corgi from 1954. So I thought that was a very nice price for that one indeed. I think this was also Honiton, can't quite remember. So Hutchinson, the year in story and picture. Let's move them over there. 116 illustrations, pretty nice. I love these old sorts of paperbacks, very, very cool indeed. Needs a bit of repair work, but I don't mind that. Yeah, this is a Hutchinson. Lewis Broad, there we are. It's not dated, but I think it's 1939, 1940, something like that. This one here was in Puddletown. It was an odd pan M series that I didn't have. I'd just been through my M books, M118, so that was alright. I mean, it's a little bit grubby, but for 50p I wasn't going to turn it down. This one was a little bit dearer, but it's a British gold medal, and it's a common one, this, it really is. I've already got it, but it's absolutely minters, so I didn't want to turn that one away. So what was that, £3? It is common, I'm not going to argue, but in that such nice condition, I didn't want to leave that behind. This is what I also got from Puddletown. Very pleased with this. Look at that. Panther Horror. It's beautiful spine on it. Early 1970s. And he had 10 on it, but I got it for about £7.60. So a bit pricey for a paperback, but just look at it. It's a beauty. So very, very pleased with that. This is an odd one in the Panther Crime Band series, which I'm still picking up when I find them. This was a very nice condition one, and it was £1.50. Look at that, before discount. So I was very, very pleased with that. It's a little sub-series within normal Panther. And we also had this odd Corgi, which is a mark of shame. So it's got a really nice spine on it. It's, it is what it is, really. I mean, this is the sort of stuff Corgi was sticking out around this time. 1960, this one. He had £4 on that before any sort of discount, which was very, very nice. And then I got a couple of Golden Cockerel Press books, which won't mean a lot to viewers of this channel, but these were like the forerunner to the Folio Society. Very much Folio Society was based on them, and this is just a little rabbit hole I've been going down. But once again, they're both limited. That was number 78. There's 10 in this series. This is what they call the Guinea series. There's 10 like uniform, and here's another one in that series as well. I can show you the title page again, so you get an idea of what it's like. A Crime Against Kinnear, Arthur Conan. This is 1934, and this one was also numbered. They're going to need a bit of a clean. That one's actually signed by the author, and that was number 166, which is very cool. So yes, that's something I've been picking up recently, is a Golden Cockerel. Anyway, I think I did very well. What a fantastic day, and thank you to both shops and of course Dorset Bob for making me feel so welcome. So do hope you've enjoyed that video today. If you have, do please give it the thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button for future book hunting adventures, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.